Good afternoon, Mr. Saud, and all audience that watching this presentation. Please let me introduce myself. My name is Jonathan Edric, student number 0421-1941-000016 from the Department of Marine Engineering at ITS Surabaya. Today, I will be explaining about ship and crew management for the purpose of maritime economic studies. First of all, I will explain about fourth shipping wave and its future. This idea for shipping is well explained by K. Slatmo, 1989. So as you can see, ship management is widely seen as the future of the maritime industry. They saw that management will bring order and organization. What this actually means is that ship management is the brand new feature that is being shifted from usually, as you can see on this explanatory diagram below, from traditional ship owners to ship management company. So referencing to this, it means that other companies that used to own and operate their own ships are now currently let going of their ship and the management of their vessels are managed by other individual private companies outside of their own. So this is happening because we need to strike the balance between optimizing operations and resources with low-cost labor and entering more untapped markets. So shipping companies need to focus less on maintaining and operating their own ship, their management, the crew, and all of those things, and they need to start focusing on the business aspect of the site. As I said before, the optimizing operation can be done by the ship management companies because they are more resourceful, they have more staff, and they are able to do it more efficiently and run the ship for a lower cost. But for the entering untapped markets, we need to explore that on our own. So the companies need to focus more on developing their business instead of operation. So continuing to the future part of this slide is the countries are starting to make protectionist policies, like in the United States and Indonesia. They have banned foreign flag vessel to sail between their domestic ports. This is to protect their own internal shipping companies and shipping liners from other companies, so they are less dependent on international companies. So as we can see, but this is not happening worldwide. This is only happening in some countries. Other countries are more open, like in European or China, they are more open. International carriers are able to sail wherever they want as long as they have the correct paperwork. This is reflected by the global shipping share, as we can see on this chart on my right. As you can see, the 25 largest country in the world controls almost 80% of the global shipping trade. This means that larger companies are getting larger and smaller ones from other companies are not getting their fair share. Maybe countries such as Russia that are landlocked are not seen on this chart in particular, for example. Okay, continuing to the next slide. This is talking about social factor. The source of this slide is from Ernest G. Frankel, 1982, about ship management system developments, maritime policy, and management. So what is social factor? Social factor is when people are interacting, they have social factors. So social factors is when people are socializing, they're meeting people, they're talking with each other. That is basically what the social factor are. So social interaction on board a ship is greatly affected by the company's management styles, values varies between companies, as well as the cultural background, rules, and the nature of the voyage. So while you may be a person that is sociable on land, but when you're about a ship, you need to adhere to some values of the company itself. So if your company is in particular is not endorsing tight bonding between crewmates, then you probably shouldn't do that. But if your company is like very friendly, family style oriented, then probably going family style and interacting with your crewmates are a good idea because they're basically your brothers in the sea. So next is cultural background. Cultural background is more talking about cultural background is talking about like where the people are from. So maybe a person from Japan or European companies are less inclined to share their personal life, but people from Asian countries, like maybe, for example, Indonesia, are more inclined to share their personal stories. Yeah. So next is the rules and rules. So this is adhering to the company rules about friendship, socialization, maybe they ban romantic relationship, for example. And finally, is the nature of the voyage. If the voyage nature is more pretense, like going to difficult sea to navigate or a dangerous flashpoint, that's probably you should stop joking around and be more serious about your work. But if it's like a leisure, maybe you can be more relaxed. So talking about the social factors, I have the table right here, talking about the elements and the indicator of the social factor. The first is individual. This is referring to your personal ability. What this means is that you you are judged based on your personality. So you are judged based on what you are able to do. For example, if you're good at something, people are more likely to look up to you for that particular task. Next is talking about organization. This is the hierarchy. So on board ships, there are of course hierarchy. Like the captain or the master is the highest ranking officer. There are officer and there are like sailors and wiper and oiler and lower ranking member of the crew. So this hierarchy needs to be adhered to because this is related to the management and leadership and then the final person who have the final say on board the ship itself. Now, the next one is mediating factor. This is the collective interest. So what this means is like you need to do what is best for your crewmates. So if we are if one person is unable to do his duties, then the others need to cover for his job. This is to ensure the safety of the ships for the whole crew, for example. Next is organizational socialization. The indicator is rules and regulation. As I've previously explained, this is more about the rules and regulation of your ship or your company on what social interaction you can do on board. Next is mediation, bonding and internal interaction. As you can see on the image to my left, source from Hellenic League, Hellenic Shipping, I mean, the mediation is a form of social element. So you need to socialize on board ship, otherwise you will go mad because you don't have anyone to talk to. So socialization and bonding with your fellow crewmates are highly encouraged in many shipping companies. Next, I will talk about third-party management and case study. So these methods happen when a company decides that they are unable or unwilling to organize their own fleets of vessels. So if I previously explained that the Greek companies are not they grow so much that they're unable to control their whole operation by themselves. So they're more inclined to use other companies to manage their vessels. They deem that outsourcing to be more cheaper and efficient. This is quite common method nowadays because many companies have other subsidiaries. For example, like in Indonesia, we have Samurai Indonesia Group, which encompass not just the ship management aspect from Samurai Indonesia Ship Management. They also have their own vessels, they have their ports, they have their logistics, they have Samurai Indonesia Tangguh, and so on and so forth. So for Greek shipping companies, they are highly family oriented. So they are more likely to give the business to their own family members or even other people that inside their family that they don't know well, because in their eyes it's better to give the control of your companies to someone who is still related to you. So this kind of culture makes it kind of hard for other foreign company to come in and sweep the Greek shipping market itself. So these are some challenges, as you can see on the table to my right. The new rules are increasing burden on ship owners. This is because the antitrust laws, for example, it's hard for the ship owner to keep control to themselves, so they need to split up their companies into smaller parts. Next is foreigners. It's hard for foreign companies to enter the market, as I have previously explained. They are family oriented and they don't trust outsiders very much. Next is the culture. The culture is very family oriented, and it makes it hard for foreign company to compete. Those are the challenges of the Greek shipping lines and companies. So next, I will talk about the third-party management structure. So as you can see on the diagram below here, there are some diagrams. The first part is technical. Technical is just talking about the maintenance of the ship and the technical sector of the vessel operation and maintenance. The operation, this is related to the operation of the ship itself, maybe like the crew and the cargo load and the freight inside the ship and so on and so forth. Finance is closely linked to operation because in order to have a good finance stream, you need to have good load factor on your ship itself. Then finance in this aspect also means that optimization for the ship owner themselves, because why do you use a ship management company? We use it because it's cheaper, they are more efficient. And why do we need to hassle dealing with controlling our ship by ourselves if it's more tiresome and more expensive? We just give it to other companies that can do it better job. Next is the social factor. The social factor is talking about uh, the social environment of between the ship management companies and their respective clients. Sorry. Next, I will talk about the cruise fleet. Cruise industry is one of the fastest growing maritime business in the recent year. As you can see on the chart to my bottom right, you can see that for the last, I don't know, decade, the number of cruise fleet have been increasing steadily, but sadly, this all have to come to the stop because of the coronavirus pandemic. The ships are no longer able to sail around the globe. They need to be docked at their respective home ports, or even for older ships, they're being scrapped because apparently it's more expensive to keep them than to scrap them. So it's cheaper just to scrap them and build a new one later on when the economy and the demand for cruising have increased significantly. Oh, I'm sorry. The cruise fleet is explained by Kai Wang, Xiao Haiwan, Lu Zhen, Xiaopo Du about cruise shipping review. So as you can see here, we have the image of a cruise ship. This is one of the flag livery by Wonderful Indonesia that's aimed for helping foreigners and especially to explore Indonesia using cruise ships. Because the cruise ship is basically a resort on sea. You have every facilities that you want. They have shopping, they have cafes, they have restaurants, they have swimming pools, they have hotels inside. So it's a really nice way to explore Indonesia in particular because we're an archipelagic nation. So using a cruise ship is very, it does make sense, but the government also need to increase the facilities of the cruise ship terminals in more region, not just in larger ports such as Bali, for example. They need to build it in like Raja Ampat, for example, or Derawan Island, which are beautiful but underserved by cruise ships. Next, we're going to talk about how the cruise ships makes money. The cruise ships only make money when they are sailing. Basically, it's like an airplane or any other mode of transportation. You cannot make money if your asset, in this case a cruise ship, is not sailing. So as soon as they are able to sail and make it to international waters, they can make more money because most cruise ships rely on casinos, which only makes money when they are in international water due to the lack of regulations. So for cruise fleet, we also need ship management to arrange the maintenance schedule and the turnaround time of these vessels, because if we took too long or we misschedule the turnaround time, maybe we miss a day, that's a lot of money being wasted. And if the maintenance is not done properly, it may lead to accidents. If the scheduling miss of the maintenance, then we have stranded passengers, which are not good per se. So yeah, we really need ship management to arrange our cruise fleet better, because like if you have a company like Royal Caribbean, which have hundreds of ships worldwide in every single corner of the globe, you really need those, because as a company we need to focus on the service towards our passengers, not the operation of the ship itself. Next, I will talk about the competitive advantage. So competitive advantages must be kept in order to be market leader. Competitive advantages is explained by Fotis M. Panayids and Richard Gray in 1999. An empirical assessment of relational competitive advantage in professional ship management, maritime policy, and management. So competitive advantages is Talking about intangible strategies, we have relationship development and cooperation. So relationship development is talking about how we keep good relation with other companies and partners. So if you're a shipping company, you need partners also, right? You need the ship management company, you need the ports and things like that. We need to keep good relation in order to get information, or sometimes we need their help. So sharing data is very important to keep a good relationship. And finally is doing cooperation to increase strategic move to increase market dominance and reach broader audience. This is especially true with the government, because in not just Indonesia, around the world, shipping is related to government in particular. For example, in Indonesia, we have a toll out program, which basically gives subsidies for shipping companies to send their ship and take cargo for less money, because the difference is split by the government. So if you don't have good cooperation for the government, for example, then you will not be able to charge lower fees, and hence you lose out to your competitors who are having good relationship with other shipping with the government itself, and you fail to reach those broader audience in the outermost regions, because yeah, basically don't have your ships there. So next is we need to cater to the needs of our customer and keep innovating so we don't fall behind. Uh, those strategies such as relationship development and cooperation are very important so we don't lag behind and we can keep our market leadership. So next I will talk about heterogeneous and imperfectly mobile resources, as you can see on the green part of the screen at the bottom. So what are those two things? Heterogeneous is talking about market knowledge. So this is how well do you know the market, how well do you know what the market wants and what the market needs, and so on and so forth. While the latter is talking about the tradable information. For example, other companies will tell you that, oh, we have a lack of supply, a lack of ships here, can you help us out, we will give you a cut. That's a shareable information. Or like weather, for example, if you don't have if your other companies and your partners can tell you that, oh, there's bad weather here, you should avoid this area, then you get that advantage and you hence getting competitive advantages to your rival, right? That's basically what heterogeneous and imperfectly mobile resources are. So moving forward, for onboard aesthetics by Griffiths, J, and Mack, K, 2007, going to see co-creating the aesthetic dimension of shipboard organizational life, culture, and organization. So this is related to the passenger ship. So aesthetic is one of the value when designing a passenger vessel, because let's see it this way. If you are a container, you don't care what the ship looks like, right? As long as you get to your destination, you cannot feel cold, you cannot feel hot, you cannot feel anything, because you're a dead item, you're cargo. But if you're a passenger, where has human have feelings? People can sense heat and coldness and things like that. So we need to design, especially for a passenger, a ship that is not just aesthetically pleasing, I mean a beautiful ship, but we also need how to make the guests inside the ship comfortable. So we need to emphasize this through designs. The designs, we need to express our feelings, maybe the values of the companies. We need to make the ship feel warm. We need to put on a comfortable bed and decoration and facilities to ensure that the customer are feeling happy and being accommodated well. So next, I will talk about the modern shipping impacts of aesthetics. As you can see, we have modernization of ship, then we reduce shipboard and evoke ugly category. This means that ships used to be beautiful. I mean, you see one of those old ships from wood; those are very pretty, like Venice ship, for example. But modern ships are like boxy and like cold. They are not warm. So this will evoke the ugly category in the long term. Next, I will talk about the table here, talking about categories of aesthetics. We have some categories such as sublime. This is the real implementation of pleasure and pain, picturesque, fascination for vivid, unique, and advancing moment. Beautiful, talking about the bonds experienced by the organizational members. Tragic, we're talking about the tragedies at sea associated with seas, ships, and seafarers. For example, you maybe have a ship theme after the Titanic. So we have like, oh, the Rose and the Jacks of those two actors being portrayed all over the ships. Those are tragic. So next is gracious. This organizational life that comes from the experience, and agogic, movement of the ship itself. So maybe you have pictures of waves or like storms or things like that, for example. Okay, we're moving forward towards shipping marketing. So what is shipping marketing? Shipping marketing, as explained by Panayits, PM, and Gray R, 1997. Marketing the professional ship management service, maritime policy and management. So what I want to tell you is that this shipping companies are not used to advertising, right? Because they are business to business. They are not targeting consumers, so hence they don't need advertising in the past. But over the years, that they need those advertising because because without those marketing strategies, those companies are not seen by the public, and the public often say what they want. So their upper echelons of the society will take into account what they think. For example, you have one company that is 100% using biofuel, and the other is using carbon or diesel fuel. For a green conscious consumer, they will say, "Oh, I will pay extra as long as my goods are shipped in a more eco-friendly way." So this is what the industry is shifting towards, how to attract the consumer, not only the business side of the market. Next, I will show you based on this pyramid. There are products, place, price, and promotion. This is the illustration for the marketing mix. Marketing mix is how you advertise something. So, sourced by humansmarketingletter.com. As you can see, product is on top because as long as you have the best products, people will buy your stuff. Next is place, how easily you are accessible, price, how cheap you are. This is fairly simple. And the final one is the promotion or the advertising. I'll explain more based on this table of marketing mix components to my right. You can see there are four, as I've explained before. The first is products, service package, which made up of core service, facilitating service, and supporting service. This is talking about how well of product you have. For example, if you have an ice cream, how well is the taste of the ice cream and how good is the packaging? Those are the things that will attract the consumers, right? So in maritime, maybe for example, this is more like, oh, I can carry your products in less time. So that's our selling point, that faster shipping time. Next is price. This is low price strategy. It's quite simple. If you have cheaper price and good products, you will have more customers than your competitors. Next is distribution, how to make your product is easily accessible. This is for shipping, probably is more related to how many ships you have, because with many ships you can have them all around the place, and the shipping time is less because they need to wait for less time. And probably around of their offices, representative offices, agent office are all around the place. For example, if you only have two offices in Jakarta and Medan, then your market will be only Jakarta and Medan. But if you have an office in every single capital city province of Indonesia, you will have more customer base, because people from Papua, people from Makassar, they will know that, oh, this is a very good company. Hence, we need to use their products, for example. Next is talking about promotion. This is basically advertising, marine conference, and literature. Advertising is quite easy. You advertise in newspapers and or TV, for example. But we are shifting towards digital, so probably your website is your biggest advertising. Next is like marine conference and literature, because many important people will attend those conferences. Hence, your company will be known worldwide, and people will know that your product stands for great quality and great service. Next, I will talk about human capital for ship management, explained by Yildiz R.O., AS, ES, and Baran E. 2018, investigating the human capital within the scope of Global Container Alliance, content analysis. So this is explaining about human capital. What is human capital? Human capitals are people that run your companies. they are the core components of a company. If you don't have human capital, you will not run. This is not a one-person business, right? If you're good a ship owner, but if you don't have the crew, if you don't have the staff of your office, you cannot run your ship. You cannot get customer by yourself. There's a big ship. Maybe yes, you can do it if you only have one ship, but if you have like 10, it's practically impossible. Next is talking about diversity. So diversity in human capital is more related to how do you accommodate people from different backgrounds. For example, if you're international shipping company and you're based in Indonesia, but you only speak Indonesian, that's a bad thing, because your customers are not just local, they're international customers. Hence, we also need their we need our staff to be able to speak in multiple languages. Maybe they can speak English or Chinese or Arabic, for example. Those are very important in order to accommodate your client base. So we really need a diversity, a diverse background for our company itself. Next, I will talk about the essential parts of human capital. First of all is the high quality human capital, because high quality human capital means higher productivity, better competence, that they are simply making your company more efficient. For example, if you pay to high schoolers 3 million each, but you have like 20 output points, but if you pay like 6 million for a graduate, probably you will have more productivity. Maybe you have 25 productivity points, for example. Next is talking about business performance. This is the affecting innovation and business process. So how do you regain your customer base? You need to innovate. If you don't innovate, you will be left behind and you will die. For example, shipping companies are traditionally analog. They don't have great digital presence. But if you want to move forward, you need digital presence. You need cloud computing. You need new technologies, new computers, new softwares to be able to keep up with the pace of the growth of the entire world itself. Next is the key human capital indicators, which are the education and training. This is quite self-explanatory, I guess. How well educated are your staff? How well trained they are? For example, how often are your ship crew getting trained? Or have your company have an ISO standardization training to ensure the same quality of standards being implemented for all clients? Because let's say that when I'm doing my internship in somewhere in Indonesia, they have like ISO 9001. Those are for the standardization, right? So you need the standardization to ensure the same level of quality, same level of product assurance is being implemented for all kind of product that you have. Next, I will explain about level of human capital. So I think that personally, education is one of the lowest, followed by experience and training and skill up. Because if you're a fresh graduate, you have zero experience, you don't know anything inside the business, all you know is about what you read in the books. But if you have experience, you at least know, oh, I know this basically, A is not that A does not equal to B, for example. Where the experience is very important, because you may be like a professor, but if you only have theories, you cannot implement that on the field, and therefore you need real on-hand experience. Finally, if you have all this education and experience, but you don't train them and you don't skill up yourself, then you will fail, because you study something 20 years ago. You're probably gonna forget it if you don't regularly train for it. For example, a pilot, if they are good for the first 5 years they're flying your airplane, they are good at that job. But if they quit piloting for 20 years, then you ask them to pilot, it's probably very different, because the technology have changed, the planes have changed, and so you need those training to keep you up to date and keep you well versed in your field of work. And the skill up is basically, it's very easy. If you don't develop yourself, you will be left behind. For example, 20 years ago, if you don't understand English, you probably can get a job anywhere in Indonesia. But nowadays, if you don't understand English or you don't speak English well, you won't get a job. For example, if you want to work at Unilever, but you cannot speak English, they will throw you out in the first preliminary, I don't know, preliminary selection process, right? So you really need those skills. You really need to develop yourself, and you need to be a lifelong learner. Next, I will talk about the human capital indicator. Sorry, human capital indicator is talking by Yildiz, same. So recent studies have found that most companies value knowledge and the quality of their employees. They say that training is the most effective way to increase the skill level of their employees. This is the image by ResearchGate. This is a person that is training the ship itself. So what I mean by this is that uh, companies value the knowledge. If you know many things, you are more likely to be good at your job. You're more likely to get a promotion, and the training is the best way to increase your knowledge in how to sharpen your minds and things like that. So these are some human capital indicator. First, experience. This is more like work experience. Next is motivation. How well motivated you are in your work. If you are not motivated, you don't have good productivity, for example. Next is knowledge. How well do you know the subject? And capability, how capable, how competent you are in that field. For example, if you are an engineering student, you cannot be a doctor, and a doctor cannot be an engineer because they are built very differently. Next is the creativity on how you find new solutions, new products in order to overcome a problem or develop a new product. Next is skill, how skilled you are in a certain area, maybe how skilled you are in using uh, computer coding for building a website, for example. And the final one is culture, because culture is quite important, I say. Uh, if you are a hard person, like, like a Batak person, maybe you are not suited to the soft speaking Japanese people and vice versa, for example. Uh, this is very much related to the how they are being their upbringing and things like that. And finally, I will talk about digitalization of ship management. So digitalization is the way forward for ship management. There are no way to view it the other way. Without the software nowadays you have, for example, if you don't have Google, if you don't have Excel, you cannot work on a spreadsheet, for example. That's the basic one. But the future software will be able to calculate cargo capacity and ballast requirements. Those newer software will be able to predict weather and select the most efficient routing and use these technologies to make your business more efficient. As you can see in this illustration by Mafoko, you can see this is our part as an engineer. This is the software. This is production. If you don't have, sorry, if you don't have those things linking you, you will fail basically. So finally, I will talk about the operation of digitalization that can be implemented in the near future. The first one is inventory control, like consumable and spare parts. Because if you rely on manual logbook, for example, you will be easily cheated by your underlings because parts may go missing and storage numbers may be lower than you expected. For example, if you have 10,000 liters of diesel, but when you check it, you only have 8,000. That's weird, right? But that means that your inventory control is not being managed well, and hence you need the digitalization to calculate this more properly. Next is the cargo operation. How well do you load your cargo? How do you fill your cargo loads and ballast water, for example? Next is ship management. How do you schedule your payroll payment to incur within your paid period by your clients, for example? And maintenance, how do you schedule your ship maintenance in order to maximize their operation and not waste too many time waiting around? And finally is navigation. This is quite important, I think. So for example, if you know that in Banda Sea there are bad weathers, you can select better, less turbulent routing, which means your vessels are less likely to have damage. The crew will be safer, and the shipping time will be faster because you can avoid those waves. And weather prediction is very important also to ensure the safety of the passage of your ship itself. So finally, I will conclude the ship management and crew. So what those are how well are you able to talk about how do you save money for the basic point is how do you save money? How can we use other companies, other uh, other systems or digitalization, how do you make it more efficient for your company itself? How do you make it better overall? How do you create more profits? And yeah, it's basically how do you give control of your vessels to other people in order to increase your overall profit and decrease the load on your company itself. I think that's all for my presentation today. These are my references for today's presentation. You can see here. Thank you for your attention and goodbye.